humans cannot distinguish anymore between generative AI music and human. We've been telling you for 2 years this is coming, right? And so we were way out ahead, but I agree with you, the pace of change, just when you figure out one thing, then you have another. And then just overnight, somebody does a song on Suno and uploads it, and then it's the #1 song and has millions of hits. And that's why when people say, oh, well, maybe the government will come and save us and pass a law where everything AI has to be noted AI.
Wonderful. And now we are rolling, and I am very happy that Paul came to this episode, and we have a lot of things to talk about. And Paul, for those folks who are listening and viewing, who are you? Who is Paul?
So I'm Paul, and I am an intellectual property attorney. Been practicing in that space for about, I don't know, a long time, 25 years or maybe 30 years now at this point. And my practice focuses on trademarks, copyrights, domain names, internet enforcement, and internet policy. So I essentially help try to make the internet a little bit safer.
Wow.
And then recently got involved in becoming an entrepreneur. I left a big law firm, started a small law firm with a buddy, and I thought, well, this is better than working for the man, and decided that I should get into starting businesses that solve problems. And so some co-founders and I started a business last year called Humanable, and it is working with musical artists to certify their music is free from generative AI so that it is safe for publishers and distributors and DSPs and others to bring on to their platforms. And out of that came the idea of our second company, or second product, I should say, rather than second company, called Actual Human, which is a fully human, no bots social media platform. We actually launched last Tuesday. So we're a week into it. Doing great.
What's the date?
The date, well, whatever is 7 days minus, we're the 15th today. So that must have been the 8th.
8th.
December 8th.
Yeah, December 8th. If you're
Right.
watching today,
I can do math.
it's available now.
Social, actualhuman.social. Sign up at your browser and then download the app from the app stores.
Awesome.
But anyways, it's fully human. We do robust verification to make sure no bots get in. And then the other thing that makes us, well, several things make us unique, but another major thing that makes us unique in the market space is that human verification plus we don't do any behavioral advertising. So we're not snooping around to find out what else you're doing on the internet and then serving up a specific ad to you. You might see an ad, but it would be because you put yourself into a particular group. So if you chose, for example, music, you may see an ad from a guitar manufacturer in music, but that same ad is going to everybody because they said, I like music, right? And so like we just, no spies, no bots, no creeping, just fully human, and just think we need a space on the internet where we don't have bots stirring up trouble.
I love that.
So check us out.
Yeah, check him out. That's you, by the way.
Oh, check him out.
So if you want to directly
Check him out. Check us out.
link in the description below, or here, right here.
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere.
Link somewhere.
That's the C2A.
Yeah.
You want to be part of a
That's
human-based social media. Link in the description.
I love it. Yeah.
It's crazy how the world works. Usually I'm in my studio, which I will show you later. I should have showed you earlier. I don't know why I didn't give you the grand tour. But I have been wanting to have someone like you to have a sit down and talk about these things, especially with the whole AI and all the stuff that's going on rapidly, because it's like a very fast thing. It's like freaking... like Bitcoin, like here, buy this. Oh, it's tanking. Buy, sell. And AI, it's like almost difficult to do anything in it because next day, everything is different.
Yeah, that's right.
It
seems fast. We've been talking about it for about 24 months, though, and blowing the whistle. Like this is coming. It's coming for the arts. It's coming for musicians first. Now the actors are upset because it's finally coming for them.
I saw.
But it's coming for books. It's coming for podcasts. It's coming for all the various art forms, right? And so everybody says to us, "Oh my goodness, can you believe the #1 song is a robot song?" And like, absolutely. We've been telling you for 2 years, this is coming, right? And so we were way out ahead. But I agree with you. The pace of change. Just when you figure out one thing, then you have another. And so we'll talk about this a little bit later. But
and that's crazy because first, when I look back and look at the historical data of what changed music, like you can record more tracks, you can go back and fix mistakes, you can record up to hundreds of tracks. So like a live now, when you listen to live versus listen to record, can be completely different. And then there's Auto-Tune, Melodyne, and now you can practically upload your own voice and replace it with a clone of somebody else's voice with your own thing. Heck, I've tried it. I'm a curious being, so I want to understand everything that I can to have a better idea of what it does. And what I'm seeing, it's crazy. And it's like, I was also going to mention the consumption side. So back in the day, a friend of mine or a teacher of mine told me he would wait months to get the money to buy a record, and he would spend weeks, months listening to every song. And then Spotify came in, you pay $7 to $20, and then you have the whole world at your own palette. And now, I can just buy this instead of buying that, and then I can listen to everything. And these things, how is that affecting the value of how consumers see the value of music, and how creators are affected in terms of, I'm just going to Melodyne it. I don't need to practice 5 hours to get that good because I can just use that tool. At what point are musicians relying too much on tools rather than I'm going to put my time in?
Yeah, and to be fair to musicians, because now the end user has the entire world of music, right, at their fingertips, it is very difficult for those consumers to find the musicians and the musicians to find the consumers. So half their day is spent doing this. They're content makers, right? And so, and it used to be they could practice their craft all day long and become absolutely perfect. But now they have to practice their craft and become absolutely perfect and figure out how to make social media work. So they spend hours and hours and hours developing content for social media. They put it out there, and nobody sees it because they're not paying for the right ad, or they don't have the right strategy, or they do pay for an ad, but the bots click it down to zero, right? So it's really, really difficult to essentially have 2 to 3 careers now to make it as a musician. And that's on top of the basics, right? Which is showing up, trying hard, being an excellent musician, being a good songwriter, and being a kind person, having a stage presence. Now you also have to be a social media celebrity. Not easy.
And like you said earlier, AI, I'm also seeing this AI faceless podcast where people just focus on viral moments that they make it into a podcast look. I'm in this group on Facebook called Faceless Marketing, and the stuff they post, I'm like, it looks absolutely crazy. Like it almost looks real. Like if you didn't know what to look for, it would be believable. And how social media and the fast-pacing things just changes how much attention we put into real things.
When AI lit the whole thing on fire, right? Because the musician or whomever, pick your art form, it doesn't matter. The musician can spend 10 years becoming an amazing musician, developing a fan base, honing their craft, becoming amazing at social media, being super creative, all that stuff. And then just overnight, somebody does a song on Suno and uploads it, and then it's the #1 song and has millions of hits, right? And that performer doesn't sleep. That performer doesn't eat. That performer doesn't pay rent. That performer doesn't get tired when they tour, because they don't tour, right? And so, literally, we're asking our artist community to compete against something superhuman. And that's why when people say, oh, well, maybe the government will come and save us and pass a law where everything AI has to be noted AI. Well, first of all, anybody with a big lobby probably may not be for that, because if they have to pay the humans royalties, that's money out of the pocket. So no one's, no, very few people are pushing for that. But even if they did, what would we get? We would get a new cause of action for artists that can't afford to go to the courts to begin with. So I'm not sure what, that's not super great. I guess it's something better than nothing. But more importantly, it's still in this giant heap, right, of content, right? So even if the human stuff is out there and it's in a giant heap of stuff that's marked AI, which most of the AI folks won't market AI no matter what the law is, or then what? You still have the same problem of just being overwhelmed by choice, right? And so that's one of the reasons why when people tell me, oh, we should have a new law, I say, listen, government's not coming to save you. And that's it's the entire premise of Humanable, which is we actually have a certification mark where that artist certifies their music as free from generative AI. And the goal is to have enough art forms certified by Humanable so that we can go to the content pushers, right? The social media outfits, the DSPs, and say, install our toggle so that the human can go in, push one button, filter in the human stuff. We don't have to filter out the AI stuff or market. It just filter in the human stuff so the consumers can find the human stuff and give humans a real chance to make a decision about what they're exposed to, right? And if I was a parent, I would be pushing super hard for this, because there's no accountability. If somebody uses a song or a book or something else and it's, not great for kids, that's one thing. There's some accountability. But if robots are doing it and who knows where it's coming from, no accountability. So that's kind of the premise. But I think we want to go back and set the table a little bit, because I keep using words like trademark and copyright, and you want to talk about the differences between those. I don't want to hijack your agenda.
Ooh, well, first, I would love to have clarity in definitions of words. So if people have absolutely no idea what these mean, like I don't want to assume they're 5 years old, but I want everybody to understand it. So what is a copyright? Yeah,
so great. We'll do some basic definitions. Copyrights protect a work of art in a fixed medium. In other words, a copyright will protect a statue chipped out of marble. It will not protect an ice sculpture, because ice melts. It's not in a fixed medium.
Interesting.
Right?
Really?
I could come up with a poem right now, say it out loud, and as long as it wasn't being recorded by that camera, right, it wouldn't have copyright protection. But if it's recorded by that camera, it does, because it is in a fixed medium.
A question.
Yes.
I'm walking down the road. Somebody's walking a dog, and they're whistling a tune. I'm like, that is a cool tune. I go home and whistle that back, create a song. Who owns that?
Well, it depends on whether or not they've got it down in a fixed medium already.
Okay, I see.
Right. So just because it's performed in a non-fixed medium doesn't mean that it loses copyright protection, or else we wouldn't have concerts.
Interesting.
Right?
How do you prove that? Do you really have to register it in the Copyright Gov?
So you can prove that in any number of ways, right? Back in the day, people would mail a copy of their song and then to themselves and then never open it, and they had a postmark on it. And I still get that question a lot. Should I mail this to myself? I'm like, I mean, you can, but probably one of the best ways to prove it is just to have the, save it as a file, right, in your cloud drive, because each file is marked with the date and time that it's created, right? It's all in the metadata. So there's all kinds of ways to prove when that copyright first came into being. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's copyright, and that we think about in terms of the arts. But we're going to explain a little bit later, I think, about how copyrights are kind of on the wane in the arts and trademarks are on the rise. Trademarks are different from copyrights. Trademarks are about source origin. They're brands, right? And so when you think about a trademark, you don't say, wow, I took a flight the other day and it was on the mainline carrier based out of Atlanta that flies primarily out of Hartsfield but has other hubs. That's too long, right? So trademarks are nicknames. And so we say, I took a flight, it was on Delta, right? So Delta, the trademark, is a nickname for that entire complex, super safe operation. Thousands and thousands of flights a day, millions of people being moved all over the globe. And yes, Delta Airlines, I do have your Amex card. Yeah, if you're watching. Sponsor Humanable.
I like the way you
I
think.
know.
Oh.
But anyway, so that's a nickname, right? And then we also have this sort of counterpart for domain names, which are also nicknames, right? Domain names are just a human helping humans who don't think, most of us don't think in numbers. Some do, but every website has an IP address associated with it, right? But I may not remember 116.114.12.5678.19, right, as a way to go to that website. If I could remember the IP address, the Internet Protocol address, then I could navigate that way. But I'm not built that way. Some humans are, but very few. So instead, I remember the nickname, delta.com. And that gets me where I want to go. So that's trademarks and domain names. Trademarks, unless you become super famous, and there are trademarks that are so famous that they have a special level of protection, at least in the United States. Every law is different around the world. But some of those marks are so famous that you really can't use that trademark for anything else, right? So for example, I'm trying to think of one that's just so famous. If I, for example, opened a sandwich shop called Home Depot, right? They're going to win, right?
Yeah.
And so that's fame. Hey, Home Depot. No.
Are you telling them they should have a sandwich shop? From
No.
Paul?
Sponsor Humanable. Yeah, no. You're gonna have to edit all this out, right? No, but the point is, like, but that's fame, right? That's fame. You keep it if it works.
It's funny.
No, it's meant to be.
Yes, I love it.
So you keep it. So that's an example of fame, and so they have protection called dilution. You can't dilute their mark. Most trademarks, however, are the subject of infringement defenses. So, for example, I could not use Home Depot to put out a brand of ladder, for example, right? Because Home Depot sells ladders. That's in their goods and services. That's part of what they have protection for. Trademarks are tied to the goods and services that they cover. They're not willy-nilly, and they're also territorial. So you may have a trademark registration for one mark in the United States, but somebody else could have that same trademark registration in Zimbabwe, and it's not a guarantee that your U.S. rights would follow you to Zimbabwe. So 200 some plus countries all have their own trademark registration process. I want to go back. I didn't answer a question. You said, should I register my copyright? The answer is it's very hard to get into courts unless you have a trademark registration. So, and it's very inexpensive. So yes, you should. And you also could lose some rights in terms of damages and things like that. So if you make something like this podcast, you should register it with the Copyright Office. It's very simple. Doesn't cost a lot of money. It's something that I think most people could figure out, right? Trademarks, on the other hand, a little more complex. There's searching protocols to find out what else may be out there, because the last thing you want to do is file a trademark registration for something only to find out that somebody else already has that. They're informed by the trademark office, and then they send you a nasty gram and tell you to stop, right? So, so trademarks are a little more complex, but trademarks have to do with the source origin of goods and services, right? Humanable is a very specific kind of trademark called a certification mark. It's kind of like Underwriter's Lab. It is something that we will allow to be put onto product after we have certified it as fully human, as opposed to us using Humanable to certify our own music, right? So it's music of others. So that's trademarks, copyrights. Now, I used to say we don't really need to talk about patents, but we kind of do. Patents protect inventions, right? They don't protect ideas. By the way, none of these things protect ideas. Ideas are not protectable. Art forms, before you put them into a fixed medium, is just an idea, not protectable. Trademarks are tied in the real world to goods and services and tied to a geographic location where you get rights either through common law use, unregistered use in the United States, Britain, Canada, the common law countries, the places where Britain used to rule before Britain quit, being an empire, and we can leave it there. And that's a different podcast for a different day.
Yeah.
But in any event, so that's common law rights, and you can have some rights. They're not as good as registration rights, but they're there. But they're strong. You can assert them, but better to have a registration. But in any event, they're tied to that particular goods and services and tied to a registration. So that, again, not an idea. Inventions, not an idea. If you think of it and you think, oh, that'd be great. My dad, who will never see this podcast, claims he invented the microwave in 1960 something. He worked for the Air Force and fixed radars and things, and he invented the microwave in his head. Sadly, he did not invent it in the real world, or else I would be a zillionaire, and that would be amazing, right? Instead, I am broke. And so, but anyway, they don't protect ideas. They do protect inventions, and there is a very specific process to become an inventor, and you've got to keep notes, and if you co-invent with somebody, they've got to be on the patent. Wow. Patents are kind of expensive. So if you do have an idea and you want to find a way to commercialize it, you can't wait until you do it and then hope for the best. You really do need to get with a patent lawyer up front. I used to say it doesn't matter for this for this discussion whether or not patents, but I've recently learned that there is a group that has been gathering up patent rights to the AI generation of music, right? Wow. And that they intend to license these to anybody who's using AI to create music, and that's code for if they don't pay us, we will sue them for patent infringement. And patent infringement has huge damages. It's really scary. And so when people say to me, oh yeah, I'm just going to use Suno, I'm just going to use these other ones, blah, 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 blah. If you use something that violates somebody else's patent and you take whatever you made and you put it out there in the marketplace, even if you don't put it out there in the marketplace, might be considered a co-infringer. And so when we say to folks, like, it really, really matters if you're a publisher, whether or not somebody used AI for that song. We say to DSPs, hey, it really matters whether or not somebody used generative AI for that song. Distributors, everybody in the ecosystem that is taking royalties out. The royalties are up here, and then they go, blah, 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 everybody takes their cut, and then like something small spits out at the artist at the end, right? Anybody taking money along that food chain needs to be hyper focused on whether or not it's violating copyrights, trademarks, or patents. Wow. And that's one of the reasons why we started Humanable, so that we could at least create a pool of music that is safe, right? That doesn't violate those things. Let me give you an example. When we have TV shows, for example, if they use a song that is generative AI fully and bears no copyright, there could be no copyright in it. They've just put into their artwork, their TV show, something that doesn't have copyright protection. And when they go to assert copyright in that TV show against third parties that may have copied it and they're distributing it and not paying royalties on it, now they've got an entire new motion practice in court where they have to go and prove how much of their TV show is copyrightable and how much of it's generative AI that they can't have rights to. It's a mess, right? So anyways, that's why trademarks, copyrights, and patents are all important. Humanable is focusing on the trademarks as a way for humans to rise above the noise and for people who buy art from humans and distribute it to be confident that they're not going to get sued later for royalty fraud or patent infringement or any of those other things. So that's the basic table setting. I'd love to talk about how copyrights are on the wane and how trademarks are on the rise. And when I do, I'm going to talk about clothing.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember when I called you the other day, you painted this picture prior to our conversation. What was that scenario you said?
Oh, about where this is all going?
Yeah.
Well, that's the exciting part. Should we jump in now?
Well, it's an interesting part because right after that,
yeah,
I opened my phone, and what did it say? Disney signed a $1 billion deal with OpenAI.
Yeah. Just like I
And I was like, what? This is what Paul just told me.
This is what we've been saying is coming. So here's what's coming, everybody. And you're going to say, oh, Paul, you're nuts. Okay.
Paint that picture.
So when it happens. So I come home for work, right? And I've got I joke, I'm going to digitally print my dinner. But while I'm busy digitally printing my dinner, I want to listen to music. And so I say to my AI who lives in my house, hey, AI who lives in my house, generate me a song. I want, or several songs. I want them to be out of the Willie Nelson's catalog, but I want them to be sung with Aretha Franklin's voice. And I want them to be set in 1920s jazz, heavy emphasis on the horn section. If you can make it sound a little bit tinny, as if it was, recorded on lo-fi, and make everything up tempo because I'm in a good mood today, right? It will spit out that music, and I will listen to that while I'm digitally printing. And then I say to my AI, after dinner, I am going to watch a movie. And I have decided that I would like to have a fun buddy comedy. So the fun buddy comedy is this. It is a superhero movie, and it's going to be Superman and Captain America. For my Superman, I want Tom, that kid from Smallville. He was my favorite. Best Superman ever. I'm prepared to fight you on it. Prepared to fight you.
Yeah, he's so good.
I'll take on anybody. Tom, if you're watching this.
No, he is good.
He's good.
I watched Smallville when I was a kid.
He heart and soul, right?
Even in the episodes with Flash. Did you see Flash?
Yep.
He appeared in it.
Yep.
It was good. Now get back to your story.
No, he was very good because he actually had to make this character come alive across a big story arc, right? He couldn't just like come in for 90 minutes and punch everybody, right? Like it was hard work. So that kid, the Captain America, I want it to be Chris, right? I want it to be like the classic Captain America. And the two of them get together and they go into the wilds of British Columbia to find a big time villain who has been hiding out, right?
Who's that villain?
Well, I think that villain should be me. I think they should put me.
Okay.
Right? So
Yes.
AI, use my digital avatar. I want to be in this movie with these guys. So they come up to British Columbia to apprehend me, right? And it takes two of them because, I'm a pretty big time villain, right? So they get up there. I explain to them why I'm not a big time villain, right? They believe me. And they thought, well, they're up here already. Let's just go fishing, right? So that's a setup. And then we all go on a fishing trip together because now we're bros. And we're fishing, and then hilarity ensues. Things go wrong, right? Like the boat sinks. Chris and I get wet. Superman, Clark doesn't. Hilarious. A group of grizzly bears attack us, thinking that they're the alpha predator, but they're not, right? That bear was overconfident. Hilarious, right? And so things like that. So I have 90 minutes of complete popcorn fluff while I'm sitting there watching this on-demand, truly on-demand, bespoke movie that I thought was great. I think it's such a great movie. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to share it out on socials so that my buddies can watch it. And they just sent me the movies that they prompted for me to watch, right? So streaming's not going away. Social's not going away. It's just all those pesky artists are going to go away, right? And there will be a very high end of artists that makes money. Willie Nelson's catalog company, whoever owns that, hope it's still Willie. Aretha Franklin's estate, right? They will make a little bit of money because they were able to, and we talked earlier about how hard it is to be an artist. They were able to rise to the point of breaking into the American consciousness. So they will always make money. Tom will make money. Chris will make money. Whoever licensed those characters will make money, right? But there's a really good chance that somebody like Homelander could easily overtake Superman in this environment, right? And so what's the relative value of Superman if I can prompt him to do whatever I want him to do, right? Also, what are the controls on that? I mean, do we really want pictures of Superman beating up kids, right?
No.
So like, where are the control,
Wow.
right? Where are the character controls? Because if a screenwriter is not in charge of who Superman becomes, then we've got an issue, right? But anyways, there will always be people, big time actors, big time musicians that will break through the cloud. But guess who's not needed? Medium to small time vocalists anymore, medium to small time actors. And so the artists that are on their way up will not be able to make money, which means in order to make it in the arts, it used to be in order to make it in the arts, it's really, really, really helpful if your parents help you a little bit, right? You still got to wait tables, you got to tend bar, but if your parents are helping you a little bit, at least there's a little bit of hope you won't starve to death, right? While you're trying to make it out. And then you have to wait it out. In Nashville, it's 10 years. In Hollywood, I have no idea how long it takes, right? But you wait it out and then you get your chance. But when the AI can do everything that you can do faster, cheaper, doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, doesn't go on strike, right? Then let's do away with all these other people that are trying to come up the food chain. Well, then parents will say, you know what, I'm a hippie. And I am a hippie because my daughter actually went to playwriting school in London. I'm an official hippie. But hippie parents will say, for a 1% chance of making it, I'll send my kids to art school, right? And then I will help them during that 10 years where they try to make it or whatever the family can afford, right? But that's if there's a 1% chance. If there is a 0% chance of that kid making the arts, even the hippiest parents are not going to do that. In order to be in the arts long enough to break through the consciousness, we're talking about you have to have an enormous amount of money. So whose kids are going to become the movie stars and the music stars of the future?
Wealthy.
The billionaires' kids.
Yeah.
Right? It's a dream. It's a dream for everybody that happens to be a billionaire's kid, right? And so that's who's going to make it because that's who can stick it out the longest.
Almost like
right?
it's a filtering process.
It's a filtering process. It's Darwin out of control, right? But the problem is that some of our best art is not all that commercially relevant, right? And some of our most commercially relevant art doesn't really become all that commercially relevant until the artist dies, right? I mean, it's paintings. I mean, the best way to get your paintings worth more is to croak, right? And so we have a real problem where the creative, not just some artists will be frustrated because they have to stay and live in Des Moines instead of coming to Nashville or Miami or Los Angeles, right? But we really have something that's coming at us that's a creative system collapse, right? That's where we're heading. And so we have to really kind of take that seriously. And so, again, that not to harp on Humanable because, you know, it's a relatively new concept. But if we can at least just create a human-centric environment where other humans can find the humans, we have a chance of preserving some kind of future for humans that make art that aren't billionaires' kids. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that
It's
is
wild.
something.
If you want to play the guitar, even though you know you probably won't make that much money at it, then you can learn to play the guitar. And, you know, unless something changes and we get off this course, in 25 years, if you're a virtuoso guitar player, you'll make some kind of living at that, the way that Yo-Yo Ma makes a living at being a cellist, right? There'll be a superstar, you know, one or two superstar cellists, one or two superstar guitar players, one or two superstar harmonica players, right? But there won't be, you know, this endless stream of young talent trying to bring something to the marketplace and at least be middle-class successful so they can make a life out of it, right?
Well, I think back in the day when you were a virtuoso, it was a bit easier to get recognized than now because you also have a lot of an abundant amount of information or a lot of information out there that you can learn, which is also both good and bad. Because if something is too available, then you have without a clear path of what you want to do, you're not gonna be able to do it because you're like, oh, your choice overwhelm, you know. But also, are the schools really composed in a matter where it's outcome driven? Like if you're putting a kid through a an art school, is that school gonna teach them how to turn that into a career?
Well, who knows, right? First of all, I'll say that a lot of specialty schools have this problem, right? I don't know whether or not my daughter's school taught her how to turn playwriting into a career. It's a great school, beautiful faculty. We love them. But I don't know how much commercial training she got. Same thing for law school. There wasn't one single class on how to run a law firm.
Really?
Not one.
What was it focused on?
Oh, learning subject matter so that you could pass the bar. Law school really just sort of reprograms your mind to think a certain way too. That's one of the reasons why sometimes, so funny, sometimes young associates think I don't know things because I'm asking them questions, but law school teaches Socratically. And so if I want you as a young lawyer to come to the conclusion on your own so that it forms that synapse, what I'm doing is I'm training the model, right? We train large language models, but we've trained human models for a long time. I'm asking you a series of Socratic questions to get you to the point where you are able to reach the conclusion on your own so that you actually learn it. I'm not lecturing. You are a participant. It's active learning. You're a participant in the process. Right?
I love that.
And so that's what a lot of law school does. And they use different subject matters to help you form those sort of synaptic connections. And so when people say to me, oh, I'm thinking about going to law school, I say, oh, do you like yourself the way you are now? Because law school is going to reprogram how you think. Really? You'll be a different person on the other side. I was much nicer before. And so, yeah. So that's that.
What's that difference, like pre and post law school, so that I can imagine it a little better?
You ask a whole lot more questions, right? So I
think that's great.
Let's play.
I think questions are how you can learn also about the other person.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think law school's worth doing for a lot of people. Not necessarily to commercialize it, because it's hard. It looks easy on TV, but it's really hard. There's a lot of lawyers that actually don't make tons of money. But if you're successful enough, it's definitely worth doing. But asking questions just becomes a habit. I worked for a wonderful person who she stepped away from her career as an antitrust lawyer in a big firm and became the CEO of a long-term care charity. And I learned so much from her watching how she interacted with people. So somebody would come in and say, Deb, I have not changed the name to protect the guilty. She would say, I love Deb. They would come and say, Deb, I have a problem and here's what's causing my problem. And she would say, well, what makes you say that? So then they had to explain how they got to the conclusion, right? And so that way she could examine the premises at the conclusion, right? Because logical syllogisms don't work that way, right? Logical syllogisms doesn't start at the end and say, and therefore I have a problem, right? It's this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Therefore I have this problem. But if the premises are wrong, you end up with a logical fallacy. If the premises aren't quite accurate enough, you end up with the wrong problem. What's the problem with having the wrong problem? You solve the wrong problem, and then you still have your problem, right?
Wow.
And you have a lot of wasted effort. So that's what law school does, right? But it doesn't teach you like, oh, rent is expensive, and you have to pay for rent for your office, and employees like benefits, and you've got to have the right technology to keep track of your practice and those kinds of things. So if I were the dean of a law school, right, and Vanderbilt, Belmont, whenever y'all are ready, right, if I were the dean of a law school, I would have so much practical teaching to go along with the core base curriculum, even if it costs the students an extra year. Because I think we put out lawyers that don't know how to run businesses the same way we put out artists that don't know how to run businesses, right?
And to add to that, I was thinking about something very similar. If I were to be a teacher at a school, a music school, I would definitely put a lot of emphasis on how to get their own clients, how to negotiate, how to put together their packages, the how-tos, the let me put a scenario in, like, instead of, oh, you got to produce a song as a final exam, like, do these sort of steps and let's find you a client. These habits, these important habits that you need to have. Or like, I just spent like weeks learning about CRM, using Go High Level, and I was mind blown. Like, it's a phenomenal. Have you heard of Go High Level?
I haven't.
It's phenomenal. It has marketing, website design, funnel creation, course creation. It has you can create a whole community. It's phenomenal. I was blown away.
Yeah.
Then I got into funnel creation, and I'm like, I wish I knew these things before.
Yeah.
So that's what I will do. I will be very practical. Like, yeah, now you know how to play all these chords, all these skills.
Yep.
How the heck are you gonna make money? And then I would be like, this is how you should try to find a client. This is the type of questions you should ask. Oh, if they don't have the budget, this is the things that you can propose. And then that's the end of the project, not produce a 30-second whatever and then you get an A or whatever.
Right. Well, and also at the end of the process, for lawyers at least, they may not have the budget for you because you cost too much, because you've risen above the consciousness of America, right? And people know what you do. But that client that you can't take on because of a conflict or because of the budget, then you become a referral source for your network of buddies who do take on work at that cost structure, right? And so, but you can't do that if you don't know how businesses work, right? So that's a thing. In terms of going into the arts and understanding the business model, that's one of the reasons why I'm harping on copyrights, the difference between copyrights and trademarks. And we've talked about how Humanable is a trademark. Let me talk about music and copyrights and where that's all heading. I say that music is now entering into its fashion cycle. So when you go and you buy a suit, I'm going to say something dumb because I didn't even know if Prada makes suits, but let's just act like they do. And you go in to buy that Prada suit. Do you buy that Prada suit because it has a copyright? You don't care.
I mean, I think at that point, people buy Prada because it's attached to luxury.
Well, and it's attached to a particular
class of living
and brand.
Yeah.
Right? That brand means something.
Yeah. Same thing with Apple. Apple, they are, what they created is this way of that people feel about using Apple. Oh, when they design how it sounds when they open it, everything. They spend a lot of money and thought into the psychology of how people feel when they use that product. That's why most people use Apple, and a lot of people try to copy their way of selling in a psychological way. I think that's what brand is.
Well, that's why all interior design for 10 years was gray. White, black, and gray.
Whoa.
Yawn. Right. They're all imitating the Apple branding, right?
Aesthetic.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's why I just mentioned this, because it's important to know that when people are buying products, they're not buying it because something's copyright protected. They're buying it because it's a particular brand. And so that's when you see like, oh, these music designers getting $1 million deals to design songs. It's nothing to do with the copyright. Actually, it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the product. Those song designers are getting these deals because those songs designers have built or are building a big enough brand to where people will choose that song, not because it's copyright protected or not because it's any good, but because that particular designer designed it, right? And so when same thing for fashion. Nobody buys, I mean, maybe somebody knows enough about clothing to know what's good quality and bad quality, but people are buying clothes because it's a particular designer or a particular company has designed it and they're putting it out. That's why it's tied to the perception, how other people will feel about you in the marketplace based upon that.
Perceived value.
Perceived
value comes
value.
to my mind, but that doesn't equal to it being good.
Correct.
So like one as an unknown music producer can be as equally good or better than somebody who is, let's say, Kanye West, but because Kanye West is Kanye West, he is now perceived better. It's like how you can, like, I remember years ago when we were having a lot of meetings with artists, and we didn't have too much big people in our backs to show off, basically, because that's what it is. You show off, oh, we work with that, we work with that.
Yeah.
They went with somebody who had the clout, but ultimately, I mean, I didn't like that any better, but that's the perceived value. And I've had clients who just hired a drummer not because of their ability per se, but because they played with somebody famous. But it wasn't even remotely better than what my body could do. Would be better than that.
Yeah. So trademarks are not about, they're about quality, right? Source, origin, and quality control, but they're not all about being the number one best quality. Let me give you an example. So McDonald's has a very consistent measure of quality. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, that Big Mac is pretty much going to taste the same, right? Now,
Pretty much.
McDonald's, I love you, right? I'm not saying anything bad about
In
you.
Europe, it does taste a little better.
A little bit. Doesn't everything taste better in Europe? No.
I don't know, but
Actually,
I
I'm going to
felt
come back
like
and talk about Europe in a minute.
Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have McDonald's in Europe?
Sure. You go, no, I haven't. I've had
No?
I've had Mackies in Europe.
Mackies.
That's what they call, at least in the
Oh,
UK, they call it
yes,
Mackie.
it's called Mackie in
Mackies.
Hungarian.
Yeah,
Mackie.
Mackies.
Menjünk a Mackie-be.
Mackie.
Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
gosh.
So-
I thought that was, and it's kind of, the food there changes depending on where you are in the world.
Little bit.
Little bit.
But it's not suddenly 5-star dining.
No,
It's
of
always
course
it's
not.
always this level.
The coffee,
Right?
like if you're talking
Yeah.
Starbucks, the taste is the same.
Right. So here in Nashville is
Mm-hmm.
a great burger joint called Gabby's. It's over in Wedgwood, Houston. Super yummy. Gabby's, if you're watching, I love you. Sponsor Humanable.
I love how you're doing that. Pound it, bro. That's
know,
good.
right?
I do the same thing.
I love it. The burgers are insane. They're so good. I mean, top 5 burger ever that I've ever had, and I've traveled to like 40 countries.
Woo!
Right? I've had a lot of burgers. Right? But they have one store. Right? McDonald's is this globally successful, one of the most powerful brands ever envisioned. Right? Huge company. Right? And they have tens of thousands, hundreds, zillions of stores, right? 1 zillion. Gabby's has one. One could argue the Gabby's burger is a higher quality, but it's not. So you see what I'm saying about
It's
trademarks?
not reaching as many people
Right.
also.
But see what I'm saying? It's the trademark is about the source origin at the quality level that you set. It's not necessarily about the highest quality and therefore everybody stampedes to it. Right. And so again, with the songs, it's about source origin. That particular song designer, they're the designer of that song. It may not be any good, but if they can become famous enough, people will want to listen to that song, and therefore they can go to Spotify and the other DSPs and say, I would like to put my music onto your platform. And yeah, I don't have any copyrights to it because, it's generative AI. But I do have branding rights to it. And instead of paying me royalties under the old copyright structure, I just want to get paid per click. Right. And they do a deal that has nothing to do with copyright. And so in the short term, those people are going to make some money because they figured out how to tie branding to generative AI content to get out of the problem of the generative AI content not having any real copyrightability or royalties, but they're using branding to bridge that gap. So once the marketplace figures out. However, I think that will only be around for another 10 years or so. I'm going to go back to my first kickoff example of me coming home and telling my personal AI to design my music and to design my movie, right? Why do I need that guy? Once it's in my home and this AI has all kinds of data about me. It can read my temperature and know whether or not I'm getting sick, and therefore knows that when I'm sick, I like to have dark comedies instead of, funny, whatever, right? It's going to know all kinds of stuff about me, and I'm not going to need that song designer because my AI will be able to serve up for me whatever I want that night in such a bespoke way, right? And so it's coming. There's no way to stop it. Even if we wanted to stop it, there's no way to stop it. It's called the First Amendment. You can't curtail speech. It's coming. The question is, what can we do to carve out human spaces where us humans that just want human stuff can also find that? Because One night, I may want to design my own song, right? For fun, or because, the AI is good at it or whatever. On a different night, I may just want to actually hear Willie Nelson or
Mm.
Aretha Franklin, like the real ones.
How has the emotion affect you when you listen to generated or ungenerated? Is there an emotional aspect that gets translated in a human recorded song that you can't find in the other, or because the other is so good at imitating, it imitates some of the emotional elements that the original had?
The
I
the
don't know.
the surveys, no, the surveys that are coming out now is that a very, very high percentage, and I don't have the exact number, but it's well over 50%, closer to 100% of humans cannot distinguish anymore between generative AI music and human made music.
I saw a survey
Yeah.
a friend of mine sent me, and it said 97% of the people
It's
can
crazy.
tell the difference.
Can't tell the difference. So the answer is only 3% of people can sense the mood, can sense the emotion, right? And what we were being told 2 years ago when we started blowing the whistle about what is now happened to music, everybody said, well, but the AI can never replace the human emotion. And we're like, well, I hope you're right. But in the meantime, here's what's coming. And then when it came, everybody said, can you believe this happened? And we say, yes, we've been telling you this for about 2 years. Up until about 2 months ago, before Tilly Norwood came on the scene, she's the first generative AI actor who rose to the attention of America. Up until about 2 months ago, artists were saying the same things, like, "Oh, generative AI will never be able to mimic what we can do. There's a human emotion, whatever." They were 2 months ago, where the artists were about 2 years. The musical artists were about 2 years ago, and then Tilly Norwood came out, and now we're seeing deals like with Disney and OpenAI. And now all of a sudden, the actors are like, "Oh my God, can you believe this is happening?" And we say, "Yeah, we've been telling you this for 2 years. It's coming for you next." Anybody who's writing a book, anybody who's doing a podcast, like it's coming for all the art forms, right? Because there's no reason for it not to. If they can commercialize it, they're going to commercialize it. That's what Silicon Valley does, right? The question is, are the artistic communities going to band together under a label where the humans can find the human stuff, right? And that's what we're about. If ultimately we don't prevail, at least we'll be able, me and my co-founders will be able to say that we tried to save the humanities for the humans.
This brings me to a thought that a teacher of mine at Berkeley told me. You make music for the sake of art or the sake of the grand popularity, for like commercial reasons? I remember I had a big jazz fusion band, and I loved using different stuff in it, like Indian music, whatever. I'll show you, I have a fretless guitar and stuff like that. And I loved, to me, music was like multiple languages. You learn styles. You learn rock, that's like learning, I don't know, English. You learn jazz, that's like learning Italian, I don't know. And then you fuse them. And then I remember my teacher was telling me about like the commercial side, like these are the two paths. Like you either sit down and you're an artist and you're trying to create something different, or you're not trying to invent the new wheel and you're somewhat copying. And I remember I did spend time writing for libraries, and they had very specific things. We want something that sounds like this, does this, and things like that. And you're not an artist. You are a recreator in one form or another, if that makes sense.
Fake news.
Yeah.
It's just fake news, right? That's a false dichotomy. That's
What do you mean?
Just this notion that you can't produce something that's new, different, better, and also make it commercializable, right? I just think
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's you're saying, you're basically saying to the truly creative students that, well, if you really want to be true to yourself, you won't sell out and figure out a way to feed yourself and your family. And you say and so you sort of put pressure on them, right? And you lower the expectations for their life instead of cheering for them. And then the students that say, well, I'm doing this, I'm going to go primarily for commercial reasons, but I'm an artist too. That professor is then devaluing their artwork because it happens to be successful, right? I think that's fake. I think that something can be very artistic and very successful, right? We remember Elton John did Candle in the Wind, right? I think that is a beautiful artistic song about another artist, by the way, Marilyn Monroe, right? Who, by the way, was commercially successful, and she did things differently, right, than everybody else did. And so I think when we see an artist that's really doing something new, different, and better, that actually, I think, increases the chance of being commercially successful. But if you are unhappy with commercially successful artists, you will want to make them feel bad about being successful. So anyways, I don't know that professor. So hopefully they remain unnamed.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then I remember somebody telling me that if you're truly passionate about what you're doing and you're truly going for it, then you'll find the people that will like it. And the idea is that the 1,000 superfan theory, you only need 1,000 superfans. And there's one artist that my father-in-law loves. What's that? There was a songwriter who unfortunately passed away during COVID, and he has unfortunately, as of this year, there won't be any yearly gatherings. There was this week of celebrating his life and gathering a lot of musicians. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. John Prine.
Oh yeah, John Prine.
John Prine. And I can't believe how many people are like, I mean, I can, because he was a great songwriter, but that's the whole gist. Like, he has super fans who travel across the world to Nashville to hear his music. And that's why I said earlier when we discussed before we shot that, I kind of now wonder what would have happened if I continued that big band craziness that I've had before.
Yeah.
And I felt like a sellout going for something I thought would be more safe. But in this industry, there's no safe option.
There's no safe option.
So you might as well do what you're passionate about.
Do what you're passionate about and learn how to do it as a business in addition to the art, right? Be aware of mega trends that are going to affect the long-term viability of what you're up to and try to work your way around them or through them. But it takes a lot of thinking. It takes a lot of passion, a lot of showing up. And if you show up, that's how you increase your chances of getting lucky. I don't know that I believe in lucky, but to the extent that there is, there are authors out there that say there are different kinds of luck. But you know what increases your chance of being found to be lucky? Showing up every day.
Showing up more.
Yeah.
Just working
Saying
hard.
yes to everything.
And being strategic.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, not everything, this might sound controversial, but not everything needs to be an immediate moneymaker for you, but it's got to have some form of a strategic reason. It's investing in people, I think, in a way. Investing in people and in relationships and meeting people and thinking value first. That's how I like to think about what is what I'm doing. Does that help somebody's problem? Does that give them some form of value in any way? And then then the next questions come up.
Right.
So earlier in this chat, you wanted to talk about like the downfall of copyright.
Well, it's less important, right? Because, and I tried to hit on that, which is people are buying songs from these song designers because the song designer is making themselves famous, right? People are listening, a million listens to these AI generative bands with AI singers that don't really exist and music that doesn't really exist outside of a software, right? Because of the brand, people are able to say, oh, Velvet Sundown or whatever it was. They are using branding. And so in the music space, copyright's just far less important than it used to be. 20 years ago, copyright was king. Now it's trademarks.
Interesting.
In music.
So I remember in your presentation, you also talked about hybrid works. So
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Good thing we both got an Apple Watch.
Hey, Apple. Sponsor Humanable. I got your watch.
Let's do it together. Sponsor Humanable.
1, 2, 3.
3, 2, 1.
Sponsor Humanable.
That was funny.
No, we did it. We did it.
By the way, if you like what you're hearing, please hit that like, share, and subscribe down there, and find Paul, find Humanable.
Find Humanable, find actualhuman.social.
Yeah.
Join us.
Exactly.
Join the humans. Stick with the humans.
Join the community.
That's exactly.
It will be in the description below.
There you go. Too funny.
Dang, I had something that I wanted to say.
So we're
before.
talking about how trademarks on the rise,
yes,
copyrights on the wane, and because just 20 years ago, copyright was king in music, and now people
hybrid works.
Hybrid works. Yeah.
So
we've got fully generative AI over here.
What is it for people who don't know what that is?
So that is, you go to the platform and you give it a couple of indistinct prompts, and it spits out something,
Now,
right?
what if it's a very, very detailed, like I want a bass to sound like this?
Yeah, so,
I
so
want
I,
this.
I think we're going to end up with different outcomes on that country by country, and we are also 10 years away from having a definitive answer from the Supreme Court, because that's how it works, right? You sue in this court, this federal circuit comes up with this decision, that federal circuit comes up with the other decision. They bounce around litigation years, appeals, remands, up, and finally we get a split among the circuits, and then the Supreme Court has to make a decision. 5 years, soonest 10 years at the most. In the meantime, if it turns out that it has no copyrightability and no royalty bearing, and you have been getting royalties for the last 10 years on that from the DSPs, they're going to want their money back. Okay.
What?
So that is red hot dangerous. Okay. So that's over there. Leave it alone. Don't be involved. Okay, great. And then there's fully human. We've already talked about that. That is humans who certify under oath with us that there's no generative AI in there. And in fact, it has no generative AI in it. That is fully copyrightable, fully licensable, royalty-bearing, good stuff, right? So we can't guarantee it doesn't violate anybody else's copyright, but the point is we can at least say that it's human, right? So that is green. Over there is red. In the middle is hybrid, which is, okay, so I wrote lyrics and I fed my lyrics into the machine, and that machine wrote the melody and then wrote the bass part, the treble part, the horn section, the harmonica, whatever. And so my stuff's in there, the computer, right? So maybe my stuff is, we don't know, right? So I go to try to get royalties for that. I have to disclose to the Copyright Office that there's generative AI in there, right? It's not fully human. And I go to get royalties for that. But when someone says, well, the royalty rate is $1, how much of the song is human and how much of it is robot?
I think that's like 33%.
You have no, it's wild. That's a wild guess.
It is a wild guess.
So for every single song, we will have to try to hire a musicologist to unpack that, or the courts could unpack it, or Congress could set, standard rates where it doesn't matter. I mean, but again, we're years and years and years away from that. If you are a publisher, a distributor, a DSP, you only want fully human stuff. So, you can pay it without, or, you can buy it or pay for it without being involved in royalty fraud, or fully generative AI stuff, I guess, over here, because at least it's red hot, you know what you're getting into. I understand why DSPs want to emphasize.
What is DSP for the listeners?
So that's folks like Spotify.
Oh, okay. So distribution, SP, is that what's distribution?
Platform,
SP, okay.
Yeah. So that's the idea. And so I understand why Spotify would like for everybody to be listening to the AI music, because they're trying to not pay royalties on that, right? Artists cost money. Artists have to eat. Artists need pesky things like, rent.
Right. But Spotify also introduced their AI thing that they are. So then why should an artist then upload their music to Spotify even? Why?
Well, I mean, Spotify will have lots of servers in the basement cranking out music. They know your music tastes better than anybody. If the folks in the middle, the song designers, that's all short term, because in the meantime, folks like Spotify will step up and figure out how to give you the music that you really want. Those algorithms will end up in your home AI, like we talked about. Yeah. That's what Spotify
crazy.
will be. Spotify will be one app that you plug into your home AI to help you build your own music.
You can already hook it up to ChatGPT that creates a custom playlist for you. But also they have their DJ too, DJ function.
All that stuff.
I don't know. I don't use it that often right now because it's just so much stuff. I'd rather watch it somewhere else. But now, when you said that,
I get my music by going to see people in honky tonks and other bars, jazz rooms. I also get my music from people sending them to me. I have a little Instagram channel, and I listen to what they send me and put it out in the world for them as best I can. And so for example, my Spotify, how the end of year recap, it was something like, I listen to 163 different genres,
Wow.
right? Because I listen to everything.
Mm.
But most people don't do that. Most people just take whatever the Spotify DJ is feeding them. Yeah.
When you said that hybrid work, I do believe that there is like just putting the lyrics in there. I don't think that makes it more human.
It's partially
I mean, it's
human.
partially, but not to say it's like 50-50.
It's
You
partially
know, like
human.
like what if you write this whole song with chords and record every part, and you just have AI kind of regurgitate a version of theirs with your version and not use anything that it generated?
Yeah. So in terms of the copyrightability, again, it is partially human, and we don't know what percentage. And the courts haven't decided how they're going to treat those things. Congress hasn't developed a new royalty framework on how to pay for those kinds of things. The more important part of that question, though, is you write the lyrics and the main melody. You have generative AI fill in the rest. But what that means is that we don't have any more need for session musicians.
That's true.
So they don't go to art school, and they don't move to Nashville, Miami, New York, and Los Angeles and be in studios and help the vocalist perfect that song, workshop it. All we get as a work product is whatever that songwriter could do on that first day before they fed into the machine. That's the song. There's no evolution of that song. And if I happen to be a music school, they have to be seeing the coming collapse of session musicians, right? There will always be musicians, touring musicians. They'll be at the highest level. They're the Yo-Yo Ma of the electric guitar. They'll be at the highest level that they can be. But the overwhelming majority of session musicians, they're already starting to go away, right? So if I'm in music school, I should be freaking out right now, right? Coming and asking Humanable, how do we tell our students about you guys, right? Because the session musician work is going to be, it's already starting to go. And the fact that the musicians aren't freaking out, like I think they should be freaking out, I guess they're just going to go quietly into the night. I guess that's the plan. Hopefully they figure it out pretty soon, because after a certain point, people are going to just say, well, okay, good enough, right? And there's another thing too. I took a look at the terms. It was either Suno or Udio. I don't remember which one. But in terms of who owns that work, paid accounts, I think they're still saying that the songwriter that feeds the song owns the song,
The
as far as
fed work.
yeah, they don't actually own it from a copyright standpoint, but at least these guys are not going to assert rights against it. But they don't say that for unpaid.
True.
And so if somebody's using an unpaid account, then we don't know who does own it. Is it the programmers or the software? We don't know.
They're doing a lot of changes right now, especially you probably heard that Suno made a deal with Warner, and Warner, they're gonna be certain artists can opt in to be part of the training process, and free users are no longer gonna be able to download anything, and it's gonna be different to what I read. And what I read was, if you are a pro member, you get a license to use for, I guess, whatever you want for that thing. But what I was gonna say earlier was, what if then you write the song, you write all the background music or whatever, you play the MIDI drums and you upload it because it just doesn't sound drummery, and then you get back what it says, what it does, and then you keep doing, okay, I like this, I don't like that, whatever. And then you hire musicians once you found something that you think could be a working song, and then you re-record it. What would that be? Then it would be a fully human with aid of AI.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how much creativity that was done, right?
Well, you're part of the creative process.
Sure.
And creatively, I think humans should be the number one decider of what goes into stuff. But even when I'm thinking back, like when I wrote charts, there was a lot of creativity added in. Oh, that was me. I'm so sorry. We were both getting calls.
I know, right? We're very popular.
Yeah, we're popular.
We keep getting called on our Apple iPhones.
Yeah. Sponsor
Sponsor.
Humanable, actual human. Sponsor caffeinated creatives.
Yeah.
um, so the work becomes a back and forth, but then I think about it and I say it out loud. It is you're replacing having a co-writing session, seeing somebody else's thought, and I think a lot of it also has to do with budget. Like if you don't have the money to hire a musician, and that is going to affect a lot of what you said, the session musicians,
Yeah.
and if you spend 15 plus years studying something and you're not getting the money, you're getting like way below minimal wage and things like that. And what inspires you to be in that thing, you know? Like I talked to a buddy of mine who also went to Berkeley, and he posted like even if I play 7 days a week for $150, that's still not enough after taxes to make a living as a musician in the States.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin said that nowadays he would recommend strongly for artists to have a day job that allows them creatively to do whatever they want to do, so they can grow that to be true to themselves instead of just constantly struggling.
Yeah, great advice, and I would love to see that list of day jobs that just allow you to be creative to yourself. Right? I know as an employer, I need my employees to do what my clients and customers need for them to do, not necessarily what they want to do all day. Right? But there must be some. Who I don't mean to sound sarcastic, but great advice. Thanks so much. And if somebody could publish that list and all of our artists could have only those jobs, that would be super amazing. But meanwhile, out in the real world, it's a struggle.
I mean, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
I think it comes from the fact that music is not valued as much. And there are a lot of people here that would play for free. Or I remember when I was studying, I had to pay and rent out the room to play with my band, and hopefully I make the money back. It's not fair.
Well, it's hard work. Whether fair or not, I don't know, because every entrepreneur has to pay money to develop a product.
It takes money to make money.
And hope people buy it, right? So is it, I don't know if it's fair or not.
I'm seeing
I
what
don't
you're
know.
saying.
But the point is that we're not making it any easier by having all this generative AI slop out there that just drowns out the hardworking artists. So that's and I don't mean to keep harping on this, but that's why we are trying to create a channel that's fully human. So at least those who are fully human in their artwork can still get found by consumers. Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest struggles now in this moment for artists / artistic entrepreneurs?
I think competing against the computers, number one. I think competing against the fact that a lot of humans already don't care about where their sounds and their visual things come from. Those are two big obstacles, right? I mean, it was always hard as all get out to succeed in the arts to begin with, but just the overwhelming volume that artists are facing that is being produced by Silicon Valley is real and significant. And again, no way to stop it. Stopping it's not going to happen. AI is going to progress. First Amendment, all that stuff, AI dominance, all the things. And we don't, in our company, we don't pick sides. We just pick the humans. And so the only way that we know to help is to create a human channel, but that doesn't make that other stuff go away. But maybe at least we can make it a little easier for the humans to find the humans. And then in that channel, you'll still have to compete for attention. But I think consumer, listener, visual, consumer apathy is important. We remember this from that movie WALL-E.
WALL-E,
yeah. We just become apathetic. We eat and drink anything that they put in front of us. We lay on lounge chairs.
I remember that. That was a crazy scene.
Yeah, but it's a really important warning about where this is all heading unless we can change the narrative.
Now, what should music consumers know about how this is affecting musicians, the folks that they're listening to?
It's making it even harder for people to make it. The first to go are the session musicians because it's cheaper just to hire the robot to write the thing, to do the music for you. Next up are the songwriters. They're next after the session musicians because people will just use these programs to prompt songs, and they'll be good enough. And so next are the songwriters, and then finally they'll come back around and they'll come for the vocalists. In the meantime, the vocalists are being prompted to, license your voice to the AI. Well, if you license your voice to the AI, what do you have to sell, right? Oh, no, you'll get some royalties. Yeah, like the royalties from Spotify. Yeah, great. I can sure live on those, right? And so I think that in addition to consumer apathy, I think artist naivete is the second problem.
What is that?
Because they think the government's going to come and there's going to be an AI labeling bill. They think that licensing their voice and their likeness and everything else to these models is going to be enough to pay the rent. I think all that is really naive. And so in the perfect world, we would have AI out there doing its thing, Silicon Valley doing its thing, but also a channel where humans can find the truly human stuff. And then people can just push that button and screen in the human stuff, which by effect screens out the AI stuff. And at least humans can compete in a channel that we've had for the last 10,000 years, right? And at least have a chance.
What parts do you think is AI usage an ethical thing, or a good, or a better, what should folks use it for?
Yeah. So I used to say something that was, and it was such a obvious example. Everybody's like, yeah. But it wasn't in the arts. I used to say, oh, well, AI should be, first of all, I think the use of AI is pretty ethical, right? Again, I'm not choosing sides, but we just choose humans. I'm not saying it's unethical in any way to use AI. Absolutely not. I'll never be on record saying that, right? Because there are ethical uses of AI, right? And there's nothing unethical about using AI to create a song or a TV show or whatever. It's just a different thing than the human stuff. But I used to say one ethical use of AI, obviously ethical use of AI, would be using it to cure cancer, right? Cure cancer. That sounds great. But let me give you one that's in the arts, right? So when Humanable moves into certifying TV episodes and movies, the only thing we're going to be certifying is that all the actors in the movie were humans, right? And we'll probably have to tweak that because there are some families who have lost people, but they can commercialize that now dead actor's name and image and voice to feed the family. We'll probably have to figure out what that means in terms of our certification. I think immediately, because we talked about Superman, I think about Christopher Reeve's family. Like I want Christopher Reeve's family to be able to, pay the bills, right? And I'm sure he would want to provide for his family, even though he's gone, right? So those are some of those spaces, right? But the reason why we're focusing only on the humans, the actors, and not AI generally, is that, say, the movie, and I saw this once when they were making a Transformers movie. They totally took over Whacker Drive. There were fires burning places and all kinds of stuff, and so like movie sets, I feel bad for movie set designers, right? They're better get a different job, right? But I think that it would be more ethical to use AI to make it look like there's a high-speed chase in a 1967 Ford Mustang goes up on its side and crashes upside down than it would be to do harm to the environment by actually crashing a 1967 Mustang.
Interesting.
Plus, the 1967 Mustang is beautiful. Ford, sponsor Humanable. Right. And so that is an example of something that I think is it unethical to crash a Mustang? No. Is it more ethical to use generative AI to make it look like you crashed a Mustang? I think so, right? So it's not, generative AI is only software, right? At the end of the day, it's a tool, right? Is it unethical to drive your car to the grocery store? No. Is it unethical to drive your car to the grocery store parking lot and purposely hit a pedestrian?
No, what if the car is
Yes.
driving by itself?
Right.
That doesn't make you
That's
a driver.
a different podcast.
But are you a driver then?
No, it makes you a passenger.
A passenger.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Let's work with that. So I'm going to say, and I got to take off here in a second because my phone's blowing up.
Okay.
But do you, as an artist, do you want to be a driver or do you want to be a passenger? As a consumer, do you want to be a driver in your own choices or a passenger and have those choices?
I feel like you should say directly to the soul of the artist there.
Artists, do you want to be a driver or a passenger in the creation of your art? If you're happy being a passenger, go for it. Nothing unethical about it. There are issues related to copyrightability and royalties and those kinds of things. Be aware of them. It's not unethical. But if you want to be a driver, then be fully human. Get your music certified, and other artists, as Humanable's coming out with new certifications next year for books, podcasts, movie episodes, TV, all that stuff, right? Be the driver and get in the human channel.
Okay. Is there any last thing you want artists to know? Last bit of advice?
My last bit of advice for artists is to work with Danny because he's amazing. He totally knows what he's doing.
I certainly did
love
not
this
pay
guy.
Paul
No,
for
I
that.
didn't. I did get a can of Waterloo as payment for that endorsement.
Okay,
I got a can of
okay.
Waterloo. Waterloo is extremely yummy.
And Waterloo invested in
Waterloo. Sponsor Humanable.
That's funny.
Awesome. All right.
That's funny. Well, Paul, how can people find you?
So they can find us at humanable.com, humanable.com for the certification of artwork. And then for social media, for the verification of humans on a social media platform, that is actualhuman.social. Register there first, then download the app. If you try to register on the app, it's going to get weird. And we'll see you in both places.
All right. Make sure to look up Paul Humanable, and that's it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Things will be in the description. Check everything out. And that was Caffeinated Creatives. Thank you so much. See you on the next episode.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.